welcome to Diary of the Law. My name is Timmy and I'm here again. Thank you so much for being here with me the last couple of times. I'm so grateful for all the likes, the comments, the shares, the feedbacks. Thank you so much. I'm really grateful for all of that. Thank you. I want to say huge, humongous, very legal thank you to all our subscribers. 50 of you said, you know what, I'm going to follow this girl. I want to see what this girl has going on. So thank you so much. Like, it means a whole lot to me. It honestly means a whole lot that you have come along with me on this journey, and I promise they're going to be worth your time, your effort, your data, and your space. So thank you. So in the last video, we spoke about the introduction to tort and some remedies to tort, and some of those remedies are 1, compensation here, 2, restitution, 3, injunction. Right now, just to go over that again, damages are compensation, so monetary compensation that the court will order on the defendants to give to the plaintiff or the claimant in question to alleviate, to reduce the burdens of the harm that he has suffered. Right now, injunction, on the other hand, is what I said before, that it's a court order, like stopping the defendant from doing a particular act or committing a particular omission. Now, we didn't really talk so much about restitution. Restitution is basically where the court puts the claimants, the person that has been aggrieved, the injured party, at the position that he would have been if the harm had not occurred. So it attempts to just place that party at a place where he would have been if not for that harm. So if, for instance, there was no trespass to your land, where would you be at? So the court attempts to gauge that and then provide remedies to meet you at that particular point. Does that make some sense? Do you understand that? So that's basically what restitution is. So those are the remedies to tortious actions: damages, restitution, and injunction. Okay? Now on to what we're going to talk about today. We'll talk about the differences, the distinction between tort and other areas of law. We're going to be discussing 3. We're going to be discussing the difference between tort and crimes. So that's tort versus criminal law, 1. 2, tort versus trust. And 3, tort versus contract. So are you ready? Are you sat? Are you active? Let's go there. So we're trying to look at the distinction between tort and criminal law. So tort is a purely civil wrong. It deals with purely civil wrongs. But then criminal law deals with crimes. So where is the distinction? Where is the versus? The purpose of criminal law is to punish crimes. That is essentially what criminal law covers: punishment of crimes or punishment of omissions or acts that the law believes to be wrong. So criminal law punishes these offenses, these crimes, these activities that the court believes to be wrong through either imprisonment or fines. Right, and these convictions are brought through criminal proceedings. Right. However, tort is a different ballgame. Tort is a purely civil wrong, and so in civil wrongs, the court does not award imprisonment. What the court awards is injunction, restitution, damages, that's fines, compensation. All these things are what the court awards, and so that's through that you can see one distinction between crimes and tortious actions. So yes, that is one difference. Another difference is that tort is a purely civil wrong, like I said before, and the main purpose of tort is not to punish. No. The main purpose of tort is to put the individual complainant, the claimant, the plaintiff in question, to provide him compensation, basically to provide him compensation, to make sure that his aggrieved state is alleviated. That is one of the most important reasons for torts, and not necessarily to punish the wrongdoer. Right. Another important difference between these two is that criminal law, in order to prove your case in criminal law, you must prove your case beyond reasonable doubt. So you must prove your case to a point where in no universe, no world will your case not be seen to be right. But then in tort, which is a civil wrong, you must only prove your case on the balance of probability. And so that means that if 51% of your case tilts towards you winning the case, then you win, even if your opponent has 49%. But then that is not the case in criminal law. You must prove your case in criminal law beyond reasonable doubt, such that any reasonable man would believe that you ought to have won that case based on the way that you have presented your case. Do you understand? Good, let's go. Torts and criminal law are vastly different areas of law. It's very important to note that a lot of times, sometimes actually, some crimes and tortious actions intertwine, and so they are both crimes and they are torts. For instance, assault. Assault is a crime. It's also a tortious act, and so in that particular case where someone assaults you, you can bring a case under criminal law as well as a case under torts. I just want to put that out there. Yes. Now on to the difference between torts and contract law. So in torts, the duties are primarily fixed by law, and so that is where you come up with duty imposed by law. That's why you say, this person has a duty of care to you, because this duty of care has been imposed by law. For instance, your doctor has a duty of care to make sure that he doesn't kill you, because it's the duty imposed by law, seen as he's a medical professional, right? But then for contracts, it is different. It is different in the sense that the duties are imposed by the parties themselves, and so they have something called privity of contract. They have freedom to contract as they want to, and so it is not based on the law. It is not because of the law that they are under a contract, but because they have decided by themselves to be under the contract. So that's one of the difference between tort and contract. So in the case where a particular advertisement is fraudulently misrepresented, that will not just count as a contractual wrong, but also as a tortious liability, because that also amounts to deceit, the tort of deceit in tort. So in contract, it is misrepresentation, but then in tort, it is a tort of deceit. Do you understand? So they also intertwine in that particular sense. And it's also wanted to note that a contractual wrong is equally a civil wrong, and so tort and contract are both civil wrongs. We've said so much already, right? We've said so much. So before we even get more information, before we feed our minds with more stuff, let's just do a little small pop quiz, okay?
A few moments later.
So the answer to that question is that in criminal law it is imprisonment, but then in tortious wrongs you have things like damages, fines. Imprisonment is not one of them. Imprisonment is not a tortious wrong remedy. Okay, imprisonment does not fall under one of the remedies to tortious wrongs. We have damages, injunction, and restitution. Wonderful work. So let's get back to what we're doing before. So we're going to go on to the difference between tort and trust. Tort and trust. What on earth is trust? So a trust occurs where some properties are given to the trustee to hold on behalf of some beneficiaries. So how this plays out in the everyday world is that, for instance, if someone is probably about to die and it says, I'm going to give the documents to my properties, to my lands in Ikeja, to my best friend Mr. Sampson, and I say, Mr. Sampson, here are these documents to these properties. When my children turn 21, kindly give them these properties because to be theirs. So that is how trust applies in the real world. That is what trust is basically. Now back to the difference between trust and tort. One, the first thing is that tort is a common law principle. However, trust is an equitable principle and it has never been recognized as common law. So tort is what? common law. Trust is equity. Common law, equity. Common law, equity. Tort, trust. Tort, trust. Very good. So the way actions under trust emerge or occur is where the trustee misappropriates the properties, where he uses it for a particular purpose that the person that gave it to him did not approve of. So for instance, if Mr. Sampson, who we spoke about before, takes those properties and then he sells it off and then he runs away to Germany, he has misappropriated the property and the children can now bring an action against him for a breach under trust. And where a breach under trust occurs, the damages or the remedies that the court awards is usually liquidated. Is a liquidated damages. Tort is unliquidated damages, and so the court will have to access, will have to always send people to go and look at it, access, look, examine, and all that before this particular amount can be given as damage on that particular wrong suffered. So on that note, I want to say thank you for watching, thank you for commenting, thank you for liking, thank you for coming along with me on this journey. It has been amazing. If you have any questions, please put it in the comment section and I will be sure to attend to it, or better still make a whole video for you because I love you like that. So yeah, have a great day, guys.
Olubala, Olulana can't find me, can't find